So your father owned a fish store, and is that's where he also sold vegetables and fruit, or?
Yeah, that's before the Second World War. And I began as a kid, 10 years old, in the back rooms, husking onions, taking off bad parts and preparing them for sale. Then gradually started to wait on people too. And remember, I got big money in those days, 50 cents for a Saturday.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
For one day.
That was after a couple of years, not right away, but after a couple of years. That's why I know that onions really smell when they get bad. Potatoes, though, not quite as bad, but they're bad too. During the war, in our basement, we had kind of a breathing rack built in on a dirt floor. So, and then we filled it with potatoes. So we had potatoes to sell through the whole winter. Then we kids had to go down there and take the stems off the potatoes when they sprouted, which, you know, that means bushels and bushels of potatoes. And they were also cooking bad. But after the war, well, during the war, fish business was very good because people couldn't get meat. And I mean, sometimes on Fridays, which was the Catholic days for eating fish, and there were about 4 of us serving in the store, plus my dad. We had to sometimes stop, take a half hour off for lunch, close the store, which was utterly unusual. People would line up outside the store to come in to buy fish. And they also bought vegetables then. But it was after the war that chain stores became very strong. And really put my dad out of business in the vegetable and fruit sides. You just couldn't buy bananas as cheaply as they came.
Right. Would fish have been rationed during the war?
No, fish was not rationed.
Yeah. So that was right.
And I think for the first time, a lot of people ate fish, actually.
Because it was available.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, describe what your 50-cent day would have been like on a Saturday. Because 50 cents would have been a lot of money at that time.
Yeah, well, that's when I waited on people. I was a little bit older. But
when would it have started? How long would it have gone?
Well, we left home around 6 in the morning, and then I usually got off at 6 at night. My dad went on probably about 9, and I'd deliver stuff on the way home. So those were long days. That was in the 40s. And especially you couldn't get male help in those days, or female help, I guess. I don't know whether they considered that or not in those days. But because everybody was being drafted who was of age, so as a young kid, I knew I was doing a man's work, so to speak, and it really felt good, you know. I was needed for that. But those were long days. So you'd go in the morning early and then try to get stands set up, because this was without refrigeration in the early days, and so there'd be a lot of spec fruit left over. It was great to eat spec fruit too. I didn't know till I went to Europe and saw Inés mother peel a pear to get a very thin skin off before she ate it as a dessert, that I realized how valuable a fruit could be conceived to be, because I had seen half bushels of pears and half bushels of peaches we bought from the farmers on Long Island that come in for canning, so to speak. So it didn't seem like something so special, just very normal and natural. That way you got to learn how to judge good fruit, and I think we were, an honest business, so we didn't sell bad stuff. And fruit has a certain shelf life too. Fish, of course, is shorter. And I'd be taught usually by Patsy, the Italian helper my dad, who really was the fruit man chair, so to speak, at the time. He would teach me all kinds of things. So that's where you pick up to learn about melons and about. I guess one of the most interesting things for me was adding up, the prices for customers.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to always do it as a game. I would add it up mentally before I drew it up on the bag with a pencil. And it becomes kind of a game with some of the customers then. They would say, how much is it, and then I would add it up for them and then tell them, show them it was the same as I had done. So that was a lot of fun.
And did you learn from the customers? Did they know
And the
about fruit?
customers, well, I don't know whether that's politic to say today. We had a lot of Jewish, Greek, and Italian customers, and they were not always easy customers. But you knew what they wanted. The Italians wanted fruit green, not ripe. The others, I don't know, they just want to make sure that it was fresh. So you can see it was dripping freshness. But no, the customers, except for those ethnic customers, most, if I may say that, American housewives really didn't know much. You could sell them anything, many of them, in those days. But it was a trust relationship. It was, you waited on people. So, and then you came to know, who gave tips. So there was sometimes kind of a hoping that you'd be free to get that customer, and you waited on somebody else.
Right. Could you describe the store? Just,
Yeah.
it was on Long Island, right?
It was in Patchogue, Long Island, and it was about 20 feet wide, and it was a deep store, so it must have been, I don't know, with the back room in there, it'd be 100 feet long. And you had the front as we called it, where you waited on the people. And during the war, for example, when bananas became fixed by the OPA price administration, you only could sell bananas for 12 cents a pound, I think. And of course, you could only buy them, if you could buy them, for 15 cents a pound. So it was black market if you had any.
Right.
And I'll never forget. So they were always in the back. So your trusted customers who wouldn't ask you how much are they, you could go get them a few bananas. And because they were unavailable, bananas became beloved by everybody to get because they had their child who really needed bananas. And my dad sold some once to a lady who reported him to the OPA. So he got fined because he had sold, I think, 4 bananas for 15 cents a pound rather than 11 cents a pound. So there was hard things going on. But early on, there was just banks of receptacles where you would show the fruit and the vegetables, and bushel baskets where you'd have it open there. Later on, I guess it was during the war, it started to become refrigerated, and we had refrigerated cases in which you would show the fruit and the vegetables. Maybe it was only one side, I can't remember right now. But it was an airy store. And it was it was one of the few non-Jewish owned stores in the village of Patchogue. There were fires. It was in a rural store about 5, and periodically there were fires in the village, so that it was getting harder to get insurance. And there probably were electrical malfunctioning, but not always. And a couple times my dad was burned out. He started, 3 stores down, so it just ruined everything.
A couple times he was
over a period of 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was a bit mysterious.
Yeah. No, if it's groceries, then there wouldn't be a lot of inventory to lose. You wouldn't, because it's all perishable inventory anyway. Or it just sounds horrible to be burned out. Several times
so
in
that
15 years.
right, so that you couldn't in your refrigeration for the fish and stuff.
Right.
Was malfunctioning, so that would be fixed. The store had to be reestablished. Because above the stores there was an empty story like, in which nothing was there. It just really kept boxes for use and stuff like that. So you get a fire, and it would go all across the top, and burn things.
What was the community like? This city. How big was it? It sounds like a pretty.
Well, no, it must be a couple thousand.
Yeah.
But where I grew up, West Seerveld, was 600 when I grew up. And of course that changed during the war. You get fresh frozen shrimp too.
Right. This was fresh frozen.
Right, but then we would boil them. So anybody who came to the store, which Inés did once when I was courting her, then she had to peel shrimp too in the back room for a couple hours. It's a dirty, messy business.
Parsley on the side. I'll put it in the salad.
Oh, okay.
So where did you get the fish from? Did you actually
When I was a boy.
Was it delivered to you, or
No,
did you
no.
go?
We went to pick it up at South Bay Fish Market.
Yeah.
Went to pick it up in West Seerveld at the beach. At the beach in West Seerveld. And that's when I was a boy, at least, because they would go out in the bay catching weakfish, bluefish, flounders, and then other ones further over in Islip, about 6-7 miles further toward the city, they'd go out into the ocean. And so you get lobsters and clams too. And we went to pick them up early in the morning, 6 o'clock, go down there and get them. Years later, when it became polluted, because they did a lot of planting and dredging clams in the seedbed. It just ruined the seedbeds of clams. Then fish too, because of the waste of the pollution. My dad had to go into New York City market, into Fulton Street Fish Market, right near the Brooklyn Bridge.
Really?
Yeah, Inés went there too once when she was
really?
Yes, yeah.
But then you leave, at 4 in the morning, 3:30. You guys get in by about 5, and then buy your fish. Put the truck, you got to pay the park, protection money, they'll take care of your stuff, and then you buy your lobster, fish, whatever it is. And I could see it when I went with my dad sometimes. He'd say he'd like some fresh mackerel. They don't look so good. I said, okay, I'll take care of it, because my dad paid his bills. He'd lift up that bush underneath would be a bushel of fresh mackerel. The one on top, was not quite so good. Yeah.
That's for the suckers.
Yeah, right. And but it was a whole subculture of people buying fish at the Fulton Street Fish Market. Sometimes my dad had lobster tails stolen out of the back of his truck. So people who we paid money to, of course, at the park, found who the guy was to beat him up. He didn't get his lobster tails back, but
Kind of pound of flesh.
yeah, right. But that was tough, because my dad did that twice a week, and then work all day on top of that. This is after I had left and gone to college. So, but the chain stores, that's why it's hard for me to go to chain stores to buy stuff to this day. They couldn't get fresh fish, and sell it cheap the way they could vegetables and fruit. So that's why the fish store survived. After a while, they had to just stop fruit and vegetables.
And where did you get the fruit and vegetables from? Was that from
There was a
farmers or
wholesaler
from-
in the village, or in the Pachoa, which is kind of a main town. And they would go in the night before to New York markets, and then you would order the day before what you wanted. Either 4 crates of melons, 2 large honeydew, 1 smaller, and then they'd bring stuff out, and you'd go to their warehouse in this large Pachoa town and see what the quality you wanted or not. So you had a kind of a trust relation with the fellow who went in to buy the fruit and vegetables. And Patsy used to do that. And then they'd be delivered to the store after he picked it out. Izzy was the guy who brought the stuff, who had done it for years and years, and would always try to get us younger boys to go up and lift the heavy stuff off, because he said, my back really hurts today.
So when would that be delivered? That'd be delivered at 6 in the morning, or when?
No,
or
it would be about 7:30, quarter to 8.
When did you open?
Well, whenever we were there, people would come in, but people started to come probably after 8 o'clock. See, in the old days, my dad would work till 8 at night too on the weekends, and on Friday and Saturday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But during the war, then the airplane plants started to pay their people on Thursday. So it was very interesting. It affected the pattern of buying and selling, because people would come, they had money on Thursday to spend. So Thursday and Friday became busier than Saturday, and they started to take Saturdays off and all the Sunday for the weekend. So when I started as a kid, Saturdays was the big day. Friday was the big fish day. But by the late 40s, early 50s, then Friday was the bigger day. Saturday was lighter.
Now, was there difficulty getting fish on Mondays? I mean, would fishermen...
See, and Jewish people wanted fresh fish on Monday.
Right.
So my dad would often go in on for the Mondays and Thursdays. He'd go in to get fish from the market. So yeah, we'd have fresh fish on Monday, which is why we had satisfied customers. Because it was hard to get fresh fish on Monday. Thursdays, the supply and variety was a lot larger in the market. But you spent almost all week in the fish side of the business getting ready for Thursday, Friday, making fillet. We made our own fillet. So that meant you got the fluke and the flounder and had to fillet them and take the skin off. Have it all set, put it in cans. So it was a job. And that's what I learned from my dad. I mean, he could do that so well, right close to the bone, in a flash. It was wonderful to see.
And his fingers.
Yeah, his fingers were, twice the thickness of mine.
Yeah, from all the...
But he made our fruit baskets too, my dad.
Fish.
Really?
Yeah. And we were in the store there, and they ordered a $50 fruit basket. That would have been a big one in those days. But he, with his big fingers, he still could very delicately, just wrapping papers around various fruit things, arrange it in such a way. So, see, the Jewish people, they had a lot of customers. They gave fruit at funerals, not flowers. Something you could eat, and it was nutritious.
Yeah.
And they also buried people within 3 days too. Yeah. So we had a lot of fruit baskets made for funerals.
Now, what kind of fish did you sell? What were the varieties?
Mostly saltwater fish. Yeah. So we came out of the bay. You had wheatfish, bluefish, flounders. Oh, that's an interesting thing. Have you ever eaten sea squab, sea chicken? My dad was the one that started this because the fishermen were catching these blowfish in the Great South Bay. Yeah, which were like a toad. And when you caught them, they would blow up, so they looked like balls. You could bounce them, and they were a nuisance because they were, chasing away good fish. So the fishermen used to clean them. You had to cut it behind the eyes, then rip it down. It was really a very rough skin. Terrible teeth these things are. They were small usually. But they asked my dad, can you do something with this, So he called them sea chicken, and we started to sell them. And they were good. They had wonderful white meat, just one little bone down the center, and it became big business. Yeah. So my dad never got credit for that, but I think they were in New York City. They were called sea squab after a while, but they were really blowfish, sea chicken, and so that was something. We didn't clean those; the fishermen cleaned them. And then we had crabs, which came from the bay.
Those would be soft shell?
Blue leg crabs.
Oh, no,
well, soft shells too, but those were cultivated.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but you could get fresh, hard shell crabs. Lobsters came from Maine, basically, up in New England, and
they'd be all shipped live still.
Yeah, that's right. It was shipped live, and that was tough to get. Fresh lobsters. £1.5, £2 were the better ones.
Right.
£1.25 was really too small. But when the fishermen would catch them out in the bay, then sometimes you'd get enormous ones. That is, like 10, 15 pounds.
No, really?
And then they had these enormous claws, and
take a finger right off.
Some of them said they were tough, but my dad always said that lobster was too rich for our blood. We never ate any lobsters at home.
What kind of fish did you eat at home?
Basically, bluefish we liked very much, which is a bit fishy, and then cod, haddock. We didn't eat swordfish much. That came in. My dad used to sell swordfish as the prime rib of the fish.
Yeah.
Tuna fish we used to get. Buy a whole tuna fish. That was fun. driving that in the fish truck through the village because the tail would be sticking out because it was so long. They were, 10 feet sometimes. An enormous barrel. You had to take a great big meat cleaver to cut it through to get the steaks. And it's very red meat, of course, until it's cooked when it becomes black. But it's mostly saltwater fish. So we got freshwater fish for some of the Jewish customers who wanted filter fish. So you get whitefish and pike and carp. But we used to get trout too sometimes. Those are more special orders.
Yeah. What was the best way to cook fish? What was your favorite way? Or did you like fish at all after having eaten it?
I mean, that's interesting. My mother could not eat it. She got sick. I'm sure there was something psychosomatic about that. But she could eat smoked eels. I always wondered about that. Because that was a delicacy.
That was a big delicacy for the holidays, wasn't it?
Right. Christmas, other times too. But we used to get those too, in our village. Somebody would have a smokehouse, and you go there and get the eels smoked just, after they've been done for a couple of days.
Is there any way to tell a good smoked eel from a bad smoked eel? Or are they all just particularly good?
Yeah. No, you don't want them dry. The small ones can get dry too quick. But the larger ones, I'm not sure how you do it. I mean, I know how you smoke them, but how long to do it, I don't know. But if they're dried out, then they get a bit tough. Yeah.
This is a dumb question, but I don't know. Herring, is that a...
No, we didn't sell herring. No. Sardines we sometimes sold, fresh sardines. Herring, we sold kippers, which is like a smoked herring.
Right.
We had herring too, like wool mops and pickled herring in jars. Yeah, I guess in the old days it was basically local fish.
Yeah.
And the people from the city who came out to Patchogue to go to Fire Island for the weekend, they would stop in and buy shrimp and lobsters. Those were good customers, Many of them were gays who developed old colony on Fire Island, which was the ridge on the other side of the Great South Bay, which is about 6 miles wide. And then there was a ridge of about 200 yards, 300 yards, and then the ocean.
In Long Island.
Oh yeah.
There used to be, and people from Zeeland, the Netherlands, they had learned it there, and then when they immigrated to the United States, then they started there.
Yeah, where we lived, Long Island, Blue Point Oysters was known throughout the States. And that was a company that fished for oysters.
Yeah.
And then at a certain time got the rights to have certain oyster beds as their property. So they would seed them then too, so that they would become more summer.
But in 1925 there was a big hurricane, and then it was all destroyed, and it never came back.
Oh, really?
So then that's when they diversified and fished different fish, and went farther north and different places.
That played havoc with the fish store too. It was the hurricanes that came stuff.
Right.
I remember the one in '39 because I got taken home from grade school in the fire truck, which was really quite exceptional.
Wow.
Fire trucks came to take us home because it was really bad. And then the next day you'd see pictures of boats up in trees and stuff like that.
Yeah, every year there were, and still are, the hurricanes, but not always at the same strength. You don't do as much damage. Still,
I guess that's it. That's pretty good.
How about mussels? I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
Was that?
We sold mussels.
Yeah.
We were also sold fresh eels. Yeah. Which and we skinned them, so you get them, and they're full of slime when you get them. They eat and live around refuse places in the bay.
and so does the eel.
That's what I mean, the eel.
Yeah, the eel and mussel.
But then they were still alive when you clean them.
No.
Yeah. So you'd have to hold on to the head quite firmly, cut them just behind the ears, and pull off the skin this way, and then they would still flex for a few minutes afterwards sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
That was the
Chicken do too.
I know.
Yeah.